Hello and welcome to Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. I'm joined by guest Barbara Schreiner Trudel, who is the CEO of Joy Here and Now. She is also the founder of Toronto's Spiritual Living Center, and one heck of an inspiring woman, so I'm really grateful that she is here today. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on living a successful life, and you will hear Barbara's. Barbara, it's so nice having you here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
You look so lovely in this purple color.
Love purple and love green, so those are my two top favorites.
Now, you are the CEO of Joy Here and Now.
Yes.
A joy coach. You call yourself a joy coach, a speaker and joy coach.
Okay.
You're also the founder of the Center for Spiritual Living here in Toronto.
I am. I founded that 11 years ago.
Right, which is, I go by it almost every day down around my neighborhood, and every time I was going past it, I thought, I've got to have this woman on my show. So thank you for being here today.
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted.
Now, something that I find really inspiring about you is that you are someone who's experienced a lot of extremes. I mean, some people go through life and we all have support and challenge, but you have seen extremes, and by that I mean you had wealth, you lost it all, you lived in poverty, and then you had wealth again. I mean,
yes. And
you were a teen parent to now having your fourth child at the age of 48, your late 40s.
Yes.
You've been in a very unhealthy marriage to something that's now fabulous marriage. You had nothing. You came to Toronto with $40 in your pocket, and you built the spiritual center.
Yes.
And now you're going on the I was going to say you're going on the road, but now you're growing as a speaker.
That's true.
To share your messages. So fascinating life. But tell me, you got here to Toronto with $40 in your pocket.
It's interesting that when you look at life, so often we sit back and we look at all the things that are going wrong and why they're going wrong, rather than looking at all the possibilities and now what. You know, when something bad happens, we're always at choice. Can I say, now what? And take a look at it and go, what have I learned, or what do I need from this, or where do I want to take it, or wow, don't want to do that again. How can I make sure that I do it differently? When I came here, I was really, really clear. It was really clear to me I was starting this Center for Spiritual Living. There was no question in my mind, no thought that said, oh, you can't do that. And when I boarded the plane in Calgary to come to Hamilton, because that's where WestJet flew at the time, I had a one-way plane ticket to Hamilton, $40 in my jeans, and 2 suitcases of summer clothes. And a big dream, and the dream was to start this spiritual center, because I couldn't believe it didn't exist in Eastern Canada, and Toronto's the biggest city, it's got to be here. So I started, and I just knew, I knew in my heart. I didn't tell my family I had no money. That would have made them too nervous. My parents would have lost it maybe, my kids would have been a little upset with me, but I just knew it was the right thing to do and the right time.
People will worry about you too. They'll worry about your retirement. Are you going to have enough money? And what happens if you have health issues? And people do start to worry.
Well, people worry, and I don't think that does us any good, because worrying actually creates health issues. So I think we'd be a whole lot better off to say, do I have what I need today? Have I had food today? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I feel okay? And then whatever today is, accepting that it is what it is, and then from there moving on from that place, because we generally have all that we need. It's just that in our minds we've decided that somehow we need something more. We need what our neighbors got. We need something different. We have to change this or change that, rather than accepting what is.
So do we go then into, if we project ourselves in the future, we go into fantasies and illusions of what is in the future and what could be, and it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't even happened.
It could be good, it could be bad, we don't know.
Well, the interesting thing is, if we're living in the past, we're living with regrets and guilt and all things like that, but the past doesn't exist, it's already gone.
Right.
So when we're there, we're actually powerless because it doesn't exist. When we project into the future, or plan too far ahead, or start thinking about what might happen or could happen, or oh no, what we're doing is we're living in a place that doesn't exist. And so it takes us out of the now moment, which is our point of power. And where can we create? Right now. That's where we can create something. We can't create in the future because it doesn't exist.
So it's being in the moment.
Being in the moment.
Being present.
Yes, absolutely.
Now this is really difficult for a lot of people too, Even people who practice living in the moment. It's very difficult.
I was watching news programs this last weekend because of 9/11 and the 10th anniversary, and listening to all the stories of people who still haven't moved on from that horrific event. Yes, it was a horrific event. And it changed the face of America and North America, really, and possibly the world. And so we have a new world that we now live in. And so now what?
That's right.
Now what? And I loved one story in particular, and that was of a gentleman who got out of the World Trade Center. He got out of the tower, and he rescued another man, and those two have become the best friends. And they spent a lot of time with each other, and 10 years later they have this great relationship. What's interesting, though, is the man who got out, when he was interviewed about, how are you doing? He said, I'm terrific. That day I didn't die, and so I was given my life. And so what am I going to do with it? I'm not looking backwards. I'm looking ahead. I'm living my life fully, and life is fantastic. The man he rescued can't live in New York City, and he's fearful. And so it really is an attitude. It's what we think about, and it's up to us to choose our thoughts, because we're the one thinking them. Nobody tells us what we have to think. Well, they might, but we're still at choice as to whether or not we listen.
Now, you started the Spiritual Living Center, which is fairly unique.
It is. It is.
So tell me a little bit about it.
The Center for Spiritual Living here in Toronto is part of an organization that's actually global. It's something that is all over the world. I am still a part of the organization in the global services area, so looking at expanding it worldwide. And really what they teach there is that there is a power in the universe that is bigger than you and I, that encompasses all that is. And that really the way we think about life is how we use that energy or move that energy in our life. So when we think life is hard, we get to be right. And when we think that life will get better, we get to be right. And so what we're thinking about is actually creating our next experience or next idea. So it's important. What you think about matters. And when we start to live from a spiritual perspective, what we start to realize is that within us, this God essence that we are, this energy, is what moves and propels us in our lives. So as your earlier guest talked about, if you're doing things that sort of are your heart song and you're giving your gift and you're in service, life gets so much better. Things are just added to that. If you're withholding and fearful and worrying, then things are withdrawn. And it's not that God let you down. That's not the case. It's really that you don't have enough faith in you, your gifts and your talents, that God-given essence that really only needs to be expressed.
Of course, my previous guest was Kathleen Mailer, founder, editor-in-chief of today's Businesswoman magazine, Inspiring Woman.
Very, very, yeah, I loved listening to her.
So is it that we're putting up resistance? Is it that we're changing our energy? Is it that we are dimming our light? I mean, what is it? Is it yes to all?
Yes, Andy, yes.
Wow, I really got it. Nailed it this morning.
You nailed it. It's really interesting because we go through our lives and we're looking out here. Right. We're looking in front of us. We're looking outside of ourselves for our answers. We're looking to somebody else, our best friend. Oh, should I like this guy? Do you like the, if you meet somebody and fall in love, who cares what your best friend thinks? She's not marrying him, you are, or whatever. But we tend to look outside ourselves for answers when all the answers are within. And so when we go into prayer, when we go into meditation, when we go into the quiet, when we go into
there's no quiet
essence,
at the moment.
No
this
quiet
is
here.
The blessing of operating out of downtown Toronto.
We get the sights and sounds.
Yes, we do.
And we just bless the EMS workers as they do their thing. But the reality is that within us we have every single thing we need, which is something Kathleen talked about earlier. Everything we need we already have. It's within our reach. We don't have to go find it. It already exists. It was ours in the moment of our conception. It's ours to the moment that we pass. And what happens is when we accept that we have been given a remarkable gift, that every single person on the planet is unique, every person on the planet is special. No one is more special than another. When we start to realize that, what we see is the potential that our life could hold, the potential that lies within us that was always there. And so it's important that we start looking inward and listen to our body and listen to our thoughts and listen to the answered prayers, because sometimes prayers are answered in ways that we didn't really expect. It's rare that we hear the voice of God going, hey, do this. Really what we get is an inspiration of, it's time to go to Toronto and start this spiritual center, and I have no money, but oh well.
But
I never lived on the street.
But you could just feel it?
I
then?
knew it was my next step.
There was a
and
knowing.
I trusted it. Yeah.
You trusted it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what creates joy.
Right.
It's just going along. You know, it's like we go out to the CNE or something and we'll ride a roller coaster and we get all scared because it's up high and then all of a sudden, boom, it's down low. And there's all this excitement. And we crave that. That's why we ride roller coasters or see horror films, because we crave excitement. But really, if we lived our lives fully, not worrying about tomorrow, next week, next month, or whatever, but being fully present in the now moment, we would be experiencing that same excitement, because joy exists within us. We can't find it, we can't buy it, we can't go get it from somebody else. It's something that's natural within us, and all we need to do is turn inward, and that's where we find all of the good, all the blessings, and who we really are. So it's exciting.
Now, Barbara, we're going to take a quick break, and this means it's my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you've got a great tip for the viewers. Top success tip.
Top success tip, live in the now. This now moment is the only point of power. If you're thinking about yesterday or last week, you are powerless. If you are projecting too far in the future, if you're thinking about tomorrow, worrying about next week, you are out of the moment and you are now powerless. To be powerful means to be present. And if you're present, success is that's a natural. It just happens.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Barbara Schreiner Trudel, CEO of Joy Here and Now, about finding your joy. So stay right there. Hello, welcome back to the show. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking with Barbara Schreiner Trudel, who is the CEO of Joy Here and Now. And wow, if you want to know how to find your joy, this is the expert. I'm really enjoying chatting with you.
Thanks.
Marianne Williamson has a quote that is absolutely one of my very favorite, and she says, "Joy has no cost."
Joy has no cost, and that's the truth.
Right.
Joy is something that we're born with. It's something that's natural in all of us. Even if you are in the deepest, darkest depression, I guarantee you joy has not left you. It is actually still there, and it's a matter of taking your focus off of what you perceive as problems, difficulties, challenges, and beginning to come back into present. You can do that through spiritual practice. I use prayer and meditation as the ways that I bring myself back. I spend time down at the lake in nature. It helps me to move out of challenges and difficulties that I'm perceiving. Life is what life is, and what I think about it will create my mood. You see, feelings don't usually come first. They come after a thought.
Right.
You know, somebody says you're having the best day ever, and somebody says, "Oh, your best friend just said that. You're a really awful person." What happens immediately? You buy into that and you go, "Oh, well, that's it." Now you're outraged. Why? Because you had a thought that someone betrayed you, and from that thought you chose an experience of anger, and it was a choice. You could instead sit back and say, "Gossip really isn't the best thing to do." And then you could go talk to your friend and say, "Are you upset with me?" Like, we have different ways that we can deal with it. My life's been an interesting one. I'm a pretty joyous person. I'm pretty happy. I have my moments where I go up and down as well. But what I know is joy is about choosing joy. And so I am a joyous person. Funny things happen. My name is Barbara, but lately I've had people calling me Joy at all different events. They'll come up, I'll give them my business card, and we'll be chatting. We may have spent days together, and all of a sudden they'll go, "Joy, it was great to meet you." And I just laugh. You know, I said to my branding expert, I said, "Well, I am the brand. How do you like that?" So she just had a good laugh about it. It was funny. But joy is something that we can just have. So, you know, I got pregnant at 15. I had my daughter. I got married. And I ended up in a violently abusive relationship that ended 2 years later. And so here I am, 18 years old, with a little kid and trying to figure out. I quit school when I was in grade 11, just at the beginning of grade 11, because, you know, you can't go to school pregnant, or so I thought. And all of these things changed, and life became challenging and difficult. I was angry. I raged. I was just this really angry person. And life was hard, and I had no money, and I had this little child. I then, you know, got a good job and started making good money and doing okay. And when I was 27, I had a spiritual epiphany. And in that moment, everything changed. It was in the moment that I started to realize that there's something more going on. And I wasn't raised with religion. I wasn't raised with church. But I found this experience of the one. Call it God or spirit or universe, whatever it was. But I found that there was something that was bigger than me. There was something more than I could actually touch. And when I discovered that, that was my road to healing. So what I do when I'm working with people is I try to illustrate to them or teach them or share with them or help them awaken to the idea that they are enough, that they are special and important. And then as they recognize that and begin to fall in love with themselves, they begin to experience more joy. And they begin to put themselves out a little bit more rather than holding themselves back in fear. So it's a journey that we go through. And I've had a pretty colorful life. I've had 2 violent marriages. That one where it made it to the CBC News when my husband was arrested by a SWAT team because he had shotguns and threatened to kill me and my children. So, you know, when people say, oh, but my life was so hard, yeah, whatever, it's a story. And at some point in time, we have to give that story up. So when
take on a new story.
And take on a new story.
Right, yeah.
It's like, yes, it happened, but do I want to live back there? Because that makes me powerless.
Yeah,
when I live in the past, I'm powerless. When I live in the now moment and go, okay, now what? That's over, that's done, now what? And there's some excitement. I like that now what? Because I'm always like, okay, what do I feel like doing? What do I ache to do? And what is mine to do? Like, who am I really? And what do I want to bring to the world and bring to life? And what do I want to do? And how do I serve? Like Kathleen talked about, be in service. So we find our gift, our talent, what excites us, and we give that away. And we're fulfilled.
So what happens then, Barbara, when you are, you know, engaging with somebody who's just, you know, their light has dimmed to the point where there is no joy.
Yeah.
You know, they might be experiencing either depression,
yes.
Maybe they've had a fallout of their business, maybe they have lost all of their money.
That's always a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they've lost more than one loved one at once. What do you do? How do you get them into that place of joy? And it sounds maybe like it's easier said than done, but you do it.
Well, you do it. My father died 2 months ago, and I went through the dying process with him and spent some time with him. And then when I returned from Calgary after his funeral, which I conducted as a minister, I can do those things, and it was very honoring for me to be able to celebrate my father in that way. When I returned, I quit my job at the Center for Spiritual Living because I knew in that moment that life is more than you know, going to work and working around the clock. And as a minister, I was working 24/7. I have a 6-year-old, and that little girl needs my time and energy. And what I realized while I was away was that she wasn't getting it. So I was, in fact, even though I was living my vision, my purpose, I dimmed my own light. And so it's about turning back to it. And one of the things I do with people when they first come to me is I question them about a number of things about how they feel about themselves, because that's what it comes down to, is do you value you? A lot of people don't. It's all self-worth.
Right.
So I teach them how to love themselves. And I do it in all kinds of silly and fun ways. And one is to stand naked in front of a mirror, which many people have talked about over the years, but stand naked in front of the mirror and look at yourself honestly and in a sort of a way of acceptance and say, I love you. And look in your own eyes and mean it. And if you can't say, I love the whole package, then sit back and say, okay, what do I love about myself? And then find that 1 or 2 things. You know, I love my eyes, they sparkle, or I love my hair, I have a good hair day, or, oh, this is a good nose, or, you know, my teeth are straight. Wherever you have to start is where you start. But that self-love, I think, is the key. And I think it was Louise Hay who wrote, she wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah,
but
right.
She also wrote a song, I believe it was her who wrote it, and it's, I love myself so much. And it's, I love myself so much that I could love you so much, that you could love you so much, that you could start loving me. Because self-love is the energy and vibration of life. And so when we love and accept, and love is really, it's not, you know, a huggy, mushy, kishy thing, you know, I mean, that's cool, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about acceptance. Acceptance of what is, acceptance of yourself, acceptance where you are. So you're flat broke today, you'll get up and do it again. If you choose, because it comes back to choice. So I've been up and I've been down. I've been in bad marriages and I'm now in a phenomenal one. I've had great jobs and I've had jobs I've hated, and I've done all manner of things. I've worked in real estate and advertising. I studied journalism at college. I've been a minister. Now I'm a speaker and a coach. And it's like life is just what it is, and when we allow ourselves to roll with it, That universal consciousness just requires us to be available, and we do that by being present. When you're in the moment, you hear the inspiration, and when you hear the inspiration, there's hope for tomorrow.
So in this moment, I'm going to ask you, what does your future hold? Where are you going with and here and now? Or just rather joy here and now?
Well, I'm currently doing a number of things in my transition period. I'm still doing weddings and memorial services, and I'm speaking at different churches and around. But what I'm looking to do is take my speaking corporate. There's a number of things that I'm working on. I'm also working on creating these wellness walks, these walks for joy. And what's interesting is I was telling a friend about it because I'm kind of tired of all the, focus around cancer and disease. And what I'd like to see is walks and marathons and runs and stuff, weekends for joy walking. Allowing ourselves to experience and to be in joy and to celebrate. So speaking, coaching, living, playing with my daughter, whatever.
Love it. Now, how can people find out more about you and your coaching business? And
they can go to my website, joyhereandnow.com.
Okay.
And on there's a short 2-minute video which gives you a little bit of idea about me. And also there's a number of things on there about the coaching and about my speaking career and stuff like that. So whatever you need, it's there.
Well, Barbara, this has been a really fantastic conversation. You have inspired me, and I could tell that you're on fire. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me. It was a true pleasure. Thanks.
Well, for more information about upcoming shows or to contact me, you can visit the website at extraordinarywomentv.com. Special thanks to the people behind the scenes who helped me make this show happen, the folks at that channel. And of course, Cindy Miranda, who helps behind the scenes. Is great to have her back from Paris. She's been gone for the summer, so Cindy, thank you for being back. If you are interested in transforming your life, I hope these stories have inspired you. You've been watching Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. See you soon.